Welcome to the Kensington Corner. I am Tom.
I'm Jeff.
Today we have Mr. Bill Keating. Ooh, look at me.
He did it.
I did it. I told you. I was going to mess that up.
Nice job.
He's the the owner of Optimal Wellness and Cryospa here in Lawrence, Kansas. Bill, how are you?
I'm well.
Good. Good. Doing well, Jeffrey?
It's a great optimal
Yeah, I can't
day.
complain. I've spent 7-8 hours in the library already today.
It is a good optimal day. Look at that.
Oh,
It is a good. I earned the sun today.
stop.
It's my new catchphrase. He hates it.
When we work out in the mornings,
Like 5 a.m.
meet up at about 5 o'clock, and I'm just out of bed about 5 to 10 minutes, and I hear Tom starts hitting me with these inspirational quotes of his. So I just don't. I don't have the stomach for it. I'm not the real rah
type.
type.
Carbs.
Yeah,
all at the same time.
Exactly. I ordered some these new Nike Metcon lifting shoes, but they're whiteboards, so you can write whatever you want on them.
Really?
And they come in Monday. Earn the sun
Gosh, stop.
with a big old orange sun on the side of it.
All right, are we going to get on track here or not?
Nah. Bill, tell us about yourself.
I am the owner of Optimal Wellness and Cryospa.
Right.
I started this. It was a quest, basically. I was lifting like you guys do, except I ruptured my pec tendon.
Okay.
And it was detached. I had it reattached. Got two nice little titanium screws in my arm. And since they didn't allow me to do anything, in fact, it was, can I walk? Yeah, slow. So I'm in a sling, so I can type with one hand. And I thought to myself, what would LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, what are these guys, what would they do
Right.
if they had to recover from something like this? They had surgery, they've got healing, all the rest of that.
Right.
So what do they do? I looked at it originally as money's no object, and I just started going down the list of what are the things that you can do? What makes a difference in somebody's life when they're trying to recover?
Okay.
And I came upon these modalities, and some of these were, apart from surgery, obviously PRP and some of the stem cells and things like that are
Right.
not something that I was going to do and couldn't obviously provide. But these things that are here, these modalities, we could provide so that common, regular guy can get world-class modalities, recovery modalities here.
Right.
The other Benny about this is when you do these things, they're also, as you get older, they're anti-aging.
Right. Yeah.
So anti-aging and wellness, and I said we should bring this.
Yeah. Anti-aging, anti-stress.
Yes.
Yeah. Huge.
All the good things that are, that you really want when you're trying to recover.
Right.
That's what we are striving to provide.
Okay. Yeah, I've been curious about this for a while now. Cryotherapy, I've been talking to Jeff about it for, I don't know, probably since we met, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm really big on like the cold shock proteins, hot shock proteins. So I do sauna and cryotherapy, back and forth. I think the biggest problem for me though is that even being around in the gym, being in this fitness world for so long, is that a lot of people don't know about this type of stuff. It's not even considered like pseudoscience. It's just they don't know.
No, they don't know.
Yeah,
That's our biggest challenge is getting the knowledge out there, showing people what this is because they have no idea what it is, and then to demystify it, if you will,
right?
So that it's not some kind of woo-woo, crazy man thing.
Right. How do you go about that?
Well, we appear at many events in town, so we bring the compression sleeves out,
right?
And then we get to talk to people as they're in the chair with the compression sleeves. Talk to them about whole body cryo, about the spot cryo, about our Theragun, about the infrared sauna, about the Saluma red lighting, and that's how we do that. We also, obviously, our website has information on it,
right?
And then we just talk to people, and so our best advertisers are the people that have come in here, and they say, hey, I'm going to go tell my peer group.
The people that swear by it.
Yes, people that swear by it. We have people walk out today. It's like, we just found this place, and we're going to go tell everybody we know because this is, awesome stuff. And that means much more than any kind of advertisement that you can do. And that's typically how the wellness business gets spread is through word of mouth.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's a huge boon for you guys as well, because I mean, you know, a lot of times do you feel like, you know, you definitely get a lot more return out of a word of mouth type thing. It's, you know, the sort of thing, somebody saying, hey, I vouch for this. It was great. You need to give it a shot. I mean, that's the sort of thing that's going to get me excited about going and trying something new, or, you know, trying a new place, that sort of thing.
Yeah, the one thing that I've ran into with this, and that I've seen, is that when you're talking to people, a lot of people, you know, it's one thing to say like, oh, I really enjoy going there and it's helped me, you know, but when you can explain to people why, and the, as you were saying earlier, demystified, that's a great word for it, because that's really what it is, because there's a ton of science behind it, and people don't see it that way because they've done something a certain way for so long. And for them, it's like, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. You know, there's no way this kind of stuff works. If this stuff works, we'd be doing it, you know, for forever. But we have been. We've just been doing it in a whole, like, just not in a cryo spa. People have been doing, you know, cold weather stuff for forever like that. I was telling Jeff the other day about a thing that I'm trying to do in the morning now. It's a guy I was following on Instagram, and I wish I could remember his name. But he basically, was it Mount Kilimanjaro?
I have no idea what you're talking about, man.
The guy that climbed Mount Kilimanjaro.
Oh, yeah.
Shirtless.
Yeah.
Wim Hof.
What?
Wim Hof.
Wim Hof. See?
The breathing guy.
The breathing guy.
You guys are kindred spirits here.
Exactly. But I was telling Jeff about the shower thing that he does in the morning, which basically takes a hot shower, does his 30 to 50 breaths, and then cuts it as cold as you can. And I was like, man, I'm going to try that, because there is science to that. There's something to that, you know. But the big thing was that the Chesapeake area Indians, they would wash their babies in like cold river, and like, you know, do that as they progressively got older to strengthen or harden them. And it's just funny to me that we've come so far evolution wise with technology and all these things, but we forget kind of where, you know, medicine was rooted at, and, you know, with plants and, you know, certain, you know, even, you know, the cold and hot, like the hot stuff. We were talking to a Native American the other day that wanted us to come do a
like a sweat lodge.
Sweat lodge.
Yeah. And we hit him up.
He never hit us back. We're waiting on him,
Merle, if you hear this, we want to do a sweat lodge.
My fiance and I did one in Mexico, a ritual sweat lodge.
There you go.
I'm trying to go to Peru. I'm on this Peru kick here lately.
So I'm curious. I've never had cryotherapy before, and probably something I'm going to have to try here now in the near future. But could you, you know, for some of us who are a little less familiar with it, could you kind of walk us through? I mean, what is a visit into this place like for a first timer? Could you walk us through the process of it all?
Certainly. And it is old technology. It started in 1978 in Japan, and it was primarily for fibromyalgia and severe rheumatoid arthritis that it was developed. So it has been around a long time. Gradually moved to Europe. It's in the States and has been here, I think, about 7 years now. Yeah. Fairly widespread in the metro areas. It's in the big metro areas. It's huge. But if you walking in the door, say, hey, I want to do whole body cryotherapy. We have you sign the waiver sheet that also has all the exclusions on it. So you see conditions that restrict you from doing whole body cryotherapy. We're very safety protocol oriented. So once you look at that and we quiz you a little bit, you sign that. Then we take you back to the back room next to the cryo chamber where the changing room is, and you'll take off your clothes. You've got to make sure that you're dry, no moisture, no sweat, no moisturizer, anything that could hold water. You're going to put on socks. We have some fuzzy slippers for you. Guys will wear boxers that we provide. Don't want to freeze the dangly bits.
My favorite parts.
And then, so you got the boxers on, and then we have gloves for you.
Okay.
We give you a wrap, so you can be as exposed as you want. Some guys just walk out in the boxers, it's got bits, you know. And we have pre-cooled the chamber by then. And we check your height with the risers to make sure that your shoulders are underneath and your head's above the plate so that you're not ingesting anything. And you'll get in, we close the door, we bring the top over that's got the round cutout in the middle so that your head's above the sauna, and then we start the sauna, and it freezes cools the air with the liquid nitrogen. Starts out at level 1 is about 141 degrees, minus 141.
Yeah.
It gets, and there are 3 levels. It's not a race, and there's some benefit for going deeper into it to get down to 180, but minus 180, I should say. But it's, the difference between 140 and 180 is not like fantastically large.
I wish I would have known that. I just went straight for 180. I just took it in.
Yeah, and that's fine. No problem. And but we like to tell people it's not a race. And you don't even have to stay the whole 3 minutes. It's more beneficial if you do, because then you get kind of a complete vasoconstriction cycle, and your body really starts to work on it, and it feels like it's freezing to death. So it's doing all the things that it does when it locks down everything to the core, vasoconstriction, so that all the inflammation is squeezed out of your periphery, that kind of stuff. And also, it's letting your brain know, hey, I've got to do some stuff, and it will trigger the endorphins when it gets out. So you're rotating around a little bit or bouncing up and down, whatever you have to do. Our technician will talk to you. We have one guy that meditates while he's in there, doesn't want any sound whatsoever. You've already chosen your music on Spotify that you want playing in the back room. So, if whatever you like, you get to hear while you're in there for the 3 minutes. And then at the end, I should say that the safety protocol demands, the technician's going to check you over, make sure you've done all that stuff, no piercings, none of that stuff unless it's covered. People with artificial knees, that's fine. Artificial hips, whatever. Just if there's skin over it, it's fine. No, no open sores, no recent tattoos, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then after that safety protocol, then you're 3 minutes in the tank or however long you take. And I do have to kind of mention as an aside, it's only been guys that have bailed less than 3 minutes.
I believe that.
Women have such a higher pain tolerance.
It is impressive.
Yeah.
There was a hotshot banker that got in there and says, I want to do, we start everybody on level 1. So he's like, I want to do level 2, 3 minutes. It lasted like 40 seconds.
Oh, wow.
That'd be me.
It was a little fun. No, look, you can do anything like that for 3 minutes. It's a test of your will, basically.
Yeah.
We won't shame you if you don't make it. And
not until you.
Well, that's definitely bad business practice, isn't it?
They won't shame you to your face.
And we encourage you. Now we want you to get the benefit. And
definitely.
We also want you to come back, because doing that over time down regulates your inflammation pathways. So it just gets better as you go along. And after you get out, then you get that endorphin rush. You can see your skin. You'll see it's a little bit red, so you can see that it's stressed your skin. So you'll build the collagen in your skin, and you'll feel better. We've had people, a guy that got dressed and ran around the parking lot. He felt so good and came in after running a marathon and was pretty beat to tears. So there's some impressive results.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Now, just out of curiosity, like, what would be some sort of like limiting health issues for somebody? I'm thinking like, generally we think along the lines of cardio health, that sort of thing.
Issues.
What about things like diabetes?
So on those things, we want you to check with your doctor first, because they're the ones that are treating you, and they know what kind of stress you can handle. Obviously, you can't get in if you're pregnant. We don't want that either. There are a few other issues that would disqualify you.
Okay.
Raynaud's, which is kind of it's different. It's don't tolerate cold well.
Right.
It's a systemic thing, so you can't get in with that just because it'll trigger the bad reaction.
Right on.
So for someone who's never done it before, for me, I've seen the difference, so I know. What would you consider the health benefits? What do you say is it? Because you can tell people. I tell people all the time, and I've heard people have told me, oh, it's a placebo. It's just in your mind. You just think that you're feeling better. You think that your muscle soreness is going away. You think that your fatigue's going away. You think that your mental health's getting better. And I know those are listed as things, but you obviously know way more about it than I do. So how do you go about telling someone when you talk to them, like, hey, no, this is like the real deal?
Well, the studies show that vasoconstriction definitely gets rid of inflammation in your body. That's a scientifically proven fact. The endorphins are scientifically proven. So in a way, because it's endorphins and that's a hormone, it is in your head.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with the placebo effect, because I do think there's something to that by going through an intense session like that. But the science also backs up that it does build collagen in your skin,
right?
That it does regulate the inflammation pathways, that you do burn a few extra calories, 300 to 800, I think is what they estimate. That it does build brown fat, because it puts mitochondria in your white fat, so brown fat's more active. It's actually better for you. It was interesting that you mentioned the heat shock and cold shock proteins. That's usually over most people's heads, but that is true. It does build cold shock proteins, like the IR sauna builds the heat shock proteins. Those are brain protective. They help the proteins fold in your head so you don't get the plaques that cause the dementia and early onset Alzheimer's and Alzheimer's. So it does help with that. They're also studying that for traumatic brain injuries and concussion protocols. That's one of the things that's kind of hot right now with cryotherapy.
Yeah, so, I feel like that's hot like all over the medical field right now. The TBI thing, especially. I mean, even with the war, but with the NFL, with them being so destined down on it.
Kids getting concussions in high school, which is even worse than the guys later on in the NFL, because their brains are grown.
Yeah.
So anything we can do to help brain health, especially when a kid is young, that's super. You help them out for quite a long time, way down the road in their lives. So.
And I'm sorry, I'm just like a question factory over here. I just can't help myself.
Bring it, man, bring it.
So when you're going through the cryotherapy, like you were saying, your body's natural response, right, is going to be to draw that, is going to be to vasoconstrict, draw that blood like to your core, right?
Right.
So I mean, how deep are the effects of that cryotherapy stay in your limbs? I mean, is there an actual like measurement of like how deep that cold is reaching into that tissue, or anything along those lines?
So it doesn't actually get your skin temperature. Doesn't get below the 40s.
Okay.
It's not actually freezing you, but it is like super cold, and your body knows it's super cold and knows it's cooling down. And so that's the standard autonomic response is, hey, I've got to preserve the core, I've got to preserve my brain. And so all you external limbs, you're going to have to just suck it up. Just like if somebody got caught on Mount Everest, or what would happen if you weren't Wim Hof and you tried to climb Kilimanjaro in your T-shirt and shorts or whatever. That's the body's natural response, is to try to protect the organism at the cost of even parts of the organism.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's going on there.
All right.
When you get out, you've got your wrap back on. It's normal temperature in here. And your body says, oh, I'm not being frozen after all, and so it can let it all loose. And so that reoxygenated blood with the growth factors that it picked up by circulating through your core, that all comes out to the periphery again, and you get that endorphin rush, and you feel pretty super.
A big shot, all the good stuff your body needs too. Then, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there any one of the big things that people talk about with the sauna, and I use this as like not street code, but it's just daily talk, I guess. But when they say getting rid of waste in the body, do you feel like that happens during cryotherapy at all?
So it does, in the fact that it bringing all that blood and the lymph drainage into the core allows it to get processed. It moves it out much faster than it would normally.
Okay.
So you are, in a sense, and this is what I tell people, the elevator pitch about Normatec is it squeezes the garbage in, or it squeezes the garbage out of the limb so it can allow the groceries in.
Right.
So it's essentially whole body cryotherapy is squeezing the garbage out of your limbs as well, so it can let the groceries in. And
for people who don't know what Normatec is, can you explain on that?
The Normatec, the compression therapy.
Yep.
It's sequential compression therapy. It's based on a medical device that you get that they put on people with surgery in the hospital that has an inflation that it keeps the tension in the legs so you don't get clots. And the legs, for example, are 5. We think of them as blood pressure cuffs
right.
that that inflate sequentially, that facilitate lymph drainage, lactic acid movement, and just generally help recovery. I love to do it after a really long bike ride. Education First, the pro bicycle team, they were doing it in the bus, on their buses in between stages.
See, that's awesome.
There's another team I think that was doing it too, but I don't remember the name. But a lot of pro bike users, the pro basketball players, the pro football players, especially when they're getting on a plane after their contest and they've been kind of beat up or whatever, and they've been in the contest, they put the Normatec sleeves on to continue that. Help that circulation once again, pushing the garbage out and letting the groceries in, but they're also in the lower pressure because they're in the airplane,
right?
And it keeps those limbs from swelling that they might actually get because because of the bumps and bruising and the usage. So not only are they getting the better circulation, but they're keeping themselves from having inflammation pool in those areas.
Yeah, when I tore my PCL a couple years ago, when I was going through physical therapy, coming back through, that's what I would do. You do 30, 45 minutes of PT, and then I'd sit, in the Normatec for like 15 minutes, and it was wonderful. Then I looked into buying one, and I was like, oh. I mean, it's wonderful, but
that was the joy that I had was, if I started this business, I could buy them and I could have them for people to use.
Exactly.
I make it affordable for somebody to come in and do that.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. The prices here are very affordable. That was one thing, like moving in, like when I was going for, when you hear the word like cryotherapy, people automatically, for some reason, and I think it's just because medicine is so expensive in the United States, they put this label on things like, well, that's not for me because it's too expensive, or it's doesn't really work, or things like that. But the packages here are like really affordable. I think for the cryotherapy it's $5 for 100. Am I saying that right?
To get the latest.
Way to put them on the spot,
right.
Tom.
Hey, well, I mean, I know it's something like that too. I'm
put
just
it in the show
guessing
notes,
too.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely. I don't want to. I can't. I don't know. It's late. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
I don't want to put the wrong number out there.
Yeah, I don't either, but it's somewhere up there like that.
Well, we'll make sure we get the right number out there. So with it, but
we do have 5 packs and 10 packs.
Yeah,
and our first time, I do know that by heart, is because of the card, is $25 for a freeze and squeeze.
Yeah, that's what I did my first time. It was great.
Great. So, how did you end up opening up a business here in Lawrence, Kansas? Then
I have family here in Lawrence.
Okay.
Kansas. There are a ton of these in where I actually reside, about half the time now.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of these there, and so the market, I thought, was kind of saturated, and I didn't want to compete with all those people. And there's nothing anywhere near around here.
No.
This is a very active town, very sports oriented. People care about themselves here. They take care of themselves. We just thought it was a great market, and we've got family here, so they can help run the place and see over it, and so I just thought this was a great place to bring this.
It is, and there is a big market here. One thing that for cryotherapy that I think has a huge market that I've learned since coming to Kansas is bike riders. I'm training one of the what race is that in Emporia?
Dirty Kansas.
The Dirty Kansas. I'm training someone right now who's going to be racing in that here in like a week and a half or 2 weeks or something.
It's coming up soon.
Yeah. And I did not realize. Well, one, I didn't realize how big the bike community was here, and they're like. I was telling her, I was like, you gotta go check this out. And she's like, well, after the race I will. I'm like, all right, whatever, But the more people you get in there like that have that credibility background, the more it makes your business more credible, to be honest. So I think this is a great community for it. It's just getting the word out.
Well, and that's really interesting to because that's actually a theme we keep hearing with
local business.
With local businesses. Mm-hmm. I was going to say with Chris at ASI, and then Andy over at the Rose, is that Lawrence is a very active town. There's a lot of people here who are very active, who are very health conscious, and it's as a kid that grew up in Kansas, or not a kid, I'm actually getting old, but as someone who grew up in Kansas, this Lawrence is out of the ordinary for this region.
It is.
That's another thing we do. Not only do we go support a bunch of these races, there was a thing out at the lake that we did a charity event for the local runners group, the trail runners, and we've done some other things where we just provide Normatec for people that come off of these, marathon, 50K, 100K runs.
See, that's awesome. Yeah, I have two buddies who are ultra marathon runners, and Sean came down here a couple times, like traveled in a van and stuff. But when we were in Alaska, we would talk about it like that. In Alaska, you can just kind of go outside and get some cryotherapy, when it's -40 out. But we had talked about we like being in like smaller towns. I love Kansas City. Kansas City, I don't even know if Kansas City has a cryo place, to be honest.
They do.
I'm sure they do, but I didn't. I don't know. But it's funny because when you talk to people about cryotherapy, that's the other thing, is that a lot of people don't have anything like near them to even go to.
That's true.
And I just think that it's going to be one of those things that in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to blow up. It really is. People are getting out there. I'm a huge Joe Rogan podcast guy, and he swears by it up and down, and I had been on it now for probably since it got released, because I was in Alaska in 2012. So about 5 years now. And
Thomas, I figured that you heard about this through the Real Housewives or wherever, because they do it too.
Do they?
That's one of the ways that other people
he's got you pegged, man.
I saw it on the Real Housewives of whatever.
Okay, that's actually what I heard about.
You got you.
I didn't think it was Joe Rogan.
No, it wasn't Joe. It was before. It was actually before Joe, and that's the one thing I'm going to take credit for, is before Joe Rogan. I think he actually started like sometime like last year, because they opened one in LA. But the only reason I knew anything about it was because of the ultra marathon runners and being up in Alaska with them and talking to them. And I was the same way when it came. I was like, cryotherapy? It's like, what do you lay in a tank? Like, like I imagined myself, what was that? Was it polio? The guy they had in the tank with the
iron lung.
The iron lung. That's it. Yeah. That's what I imagined cryotherapy was. Like, I'm going to be in this tank laying there, just MRI style, freezing to death. It's a little different than that. Yeah, what do you think? Like, how do you envision it without ever doing it?
I guess I guess, well, obviously Bill already kind of walked us through it.
Well, yeah, but before that.
No, I mean, I have an idea. I'd had an idea of how cryo worked. Actually, the first time I heard of cryo was actually, I think I read an article on it in ESPN, and they were talking about, this has probably been 5-6 years ago when the Spurs were still going.
You told me this, yeah.
They talked. It was an article in there, and they talked about how cryotherapy was, as an aging team, was kind of their secret weapon for recovering from all the all the games they have to play during a season of basketball. And as I get older, I can definitely relate to the fact that you don't bounce back the way you always used to. So
the Dallas Mavericks in their championship season, because that was an older team, they were doing.
Oh, and that maybe that's what it was. It might have been the Mavericks, not the Spurs. But I do. That's where I heard about it initially, and I was like, man, that sounds pretty cool.
Almost every pro team does it or contracts it now.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Yeah,
Kansas City Royals are doing it big time. Right over there. Mizzou owns 2 for their athletic teams. I've got a really long list of pro teams that use this. There's even a high school in California.
Oh,
that's probably what, Matter Day?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's probably Matter Day, I would guess. Yeah,
I'm sure it's some low end.
They're probably out there just getting it in. No, that's I was really surprised, because I was complaining, and I guess because just sheer ignorance of not even using Google, I just thought there's no way there's a cryotherapy place here. In my head, and I think that's what a lot of people think. That it's Lawrence. There's no way one's here. And we were at Crunch.
Yes.
And the table was set up, and I was like, "Oh, are you guys opening?" Cannot remember who. I don't even know if I got her and his name. And they're like, "No, we've been open." And I was like, "I will be over." And I think I went.
The next day?
The next day. Yeah, I think I came in the next day because I told him I would. And I was just blown away, one, because this is a great facility. This is a large facility.
Thank you.
You guys have top-of-the-line equipment, which is also, that's another thing that I think, too, is that people get, okay, yeah, you go. You don't know a lot about it, but when you walk into a place like this, it's aesthetically pleasing, and you have nice equipment. That and that says a lot to someone who's coming into a small business.
First impressions matter a lot.
Yeah.
We worked really hard on the aesthetics and setting the ambiance for this, so it's kind of like a little recovery oasis.
Right.
So you can chill out. That's the reason why we work so hard with the music and the headphones for the TVs
Right.
when you're in the cinema chair and all that stuff. Our presentation of the IR sauna, and then back there with the changing room and all that stuff. And we really want this to feel different, to be a place that you step into that's like, okay, I can relax, I can do my recovery stuff. This is the place, and it kind of sets your head in the right frame of mind to.
The one thing you just mentioned we haven't talked about, and I've been wanting to do this, is the IR sauna.
Okay.
I've never done one.
Oh, really?
Never.
You're in for a treat.
I know. I feel like I am. They have a couple.
He makes me sit in the sauna like literally like a regular old sauna, like literally every day after we work out, and I'm miserable.
He loves it.
Tell us. Yeah, I'm interested to hear about the IR.
Infrared sauna, it's a dry sauna, but it's infrared, so it's heating you more from the inside out. It doesn't have to get quite as hot. It stays about 128, 130. And ours is a 3-wave sauna, so you can get near, far, and mid infrared.
Okay.
We have 5 different programs. I think it's 5. I'd have to go through and count them, but a detox program, even a cardiovascular program, so you can get your heart rate up if you can't exercise or work.
See, that's awesome.
There's a weight loss program. There's a pain relief. There's a stress relief program. All of those are designed to help with that. We also have the chromotherapy lights. So, for example, in the evening, we have the lights on red so that you can start building melatonin so you'll go to sleep. And during the day, you have the lights on blue, and especially people that suffer with seasonal affective disorder, you're getting a double shot then. I even made a video about that, but you get a double shot. So you get the blue lights that help you combat, your brain through the colors through your eyes, combat that seasonal affective disorder.
I used to think that was fake.
Yeah, a lot of people do, but it's scientifically
it's a
proven.
real deal, man.
2012, I moved to Alaska. I got divorced like 3 months later, so I thought that was why I was depressed. But no, is that funny to you? Thanks, man.
No,
That's a different podcast, right?
Yeah, thanks, dude. I really appreciate that one.
I got
Laughing
your
at
back,
me.
man.
But no, it was like February that year. Of course, it starts getting dark there, like into September, October. It starts, the cycle starts. But it was like February, and I came home and I had like a 6-pack of beer, and I was just staring out my front window, and I was like on beer number 3, and I was like, I am depressed. I do not feel right, and I just did not do well up there. But when I moved up there, I thought it was a joke. I did not think that was real. And then about 6 months after being there, I was like, "This is not a joke. This is
Some
real."
people get it worse than others.
Yeah.
My daughter-in-law happens to get it really bad. She lives up in New York.
Yeah.
It's. I don't know if there's a gene or a genomic
I get it here.
expression. You what?
I get it here in Kansas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
We do have people that come in.
Yeah.
So the heat helps with that.
Yeah.
And also the light. So you're giving you a double shot to
awesome.
combat seasonal affective disorder. I think the most impressive thing about the IR sauna is the Finnish study that took middle-aged people for 10 years, and there was a 40% all-cause mortality reduction by doing
That's
sauna.
insane.
Yeah, that is an insane number. It's hard to
that's an insane statistic.
comprehend. Yeah, if you don't get run over by a car, you've got a 40% better chance of not getting, some kind of dread disease. They don't exactly know why. They think part of it is that it stresses your immune system enough that it makes it stronger, and then you get tons of detox in this thing because you're sweating, and then the heat shock proteins, which is another thing, brain protective, and I think they think they do other things not yet studied.
See, I've been protecting you all along.
Thanks, man.
You didn't even know it. We want to do the couples IR sometime together.
No, we don't.
You don't want to do that? You wouldn't do that with me?
I guess we could hang a towel in between you two.
No, we're fine. I don't care. You sit in the sauna with me daily.
All
No,
right,
I make him
whatever.
hop in the sauna daily, and he loves it. He says he doesn't, but he loves it.
It's funny. Like I said, I never haven't done the IR, which I'm definitely going to give it a shot because it sounds amazing. But it's funny, because we, like I said, we do almost every day after we work out, we'll go sit in the sauna unless, crunch for time, got to run, whatever. And it's funny because it's kind of like, it's one of those things that it really sucks while you're doing it. But man, the moment you get out, you're like, that was great. You know, it's I don't know how else. At least that's how it is for me.
I love it all the time.
Yeah, I do too.
It really helps your muscle recovery.
Yes.
What I don't know is, for example, the whole body cryotherapy. You want to wait about 6 hours after you lift because you want that positive inflammation to help grow your muscle. You don't want to shut that off.
Right.
Same reason why you don't take vitamin C, you don't take NSAIDs or aspirin, any kind of anti-inflammatory after you lift, because you don't want to shut off that inflammatory pattern that brings the insulin growth factors to build muscle. I don't know about the sauna.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm gonna have to look that up now.
Research that.
I would have to too. Yeah, I don't know enough about that
But
either.
it does it really knocks down the delayed onset muscle soreness big time.
Oh, yeah.
I got, I was out in public sitting with a bunch of people. I got the stomach bug that was going around.
Yeah, I got that too.
So I hated it the first day, but I went and got in the sauna. That rise in temperature is naturally from a fever.
Right.
It puts those viruses out of their livable range, and so it knocks that down significantly.
See, yeah. And then that goes back to the sweat lodges, though. You know, that's, I mean, really, when we talked to the Native American guy, he was like, yeah, you know, if you're just feeling bad, you can just hop in there. And that's true. It is
true.
I really want to do that with him, and I'm really hoping he does contact me, because he was just saying that he has, like, basically he takes like a bucket of water in there and has to take care of people, but he's had people like pass out on him. It gets so hot in there.
Yeah, it does get hot. The one in Mexico
was crazy.
Yeah. How they took stones from the fire.
That's what
put them in the middle. Then she would take this, I don't know what the leaves and branches were. She would dip that in the bucket and flip it on the fire, and you get these just super hot waves coming at you. And eventually everybody was lying down on the floor because it was like a little bit cooler.
Cool. That's what he said. Yeah, he said that. Yeah.
And you know, this one was a little bit more ritualistic, so we were repeating chants. It was supposed to be a purification thing. I felt pretty dang pure after I was done with it.
I'm trying to get him to go to Peru with me, and he doesn't want to.
No,
he doesn't want to.
When am I going to have time to go to Peru, bro?
He's got time. He's got time. I was like, dude, I'll pay for it. Just come with me.
Hey, Lima has a 5-star restaurant.
We're not going to Lima. We're going to the jungle. we're going into the jungle.
You have to fly into Lima.
I know, but we're not. We're going to stay in the airport, take the hopper plane.
So
right
you can get the civilized version of all that by just going in my IR sauna.
See,
I mean, we're going to do that as well, but this is an experience. I got to take him with me. Okay. But I want him to do the psychedelics with me.
The ayahuasca.
Yeah, I want him to do it. I want him to hit the 8th dimension with me.
Be careful.
Oh, I will. I've lived a great life. I've lived a great life. I think that I'm hoping I come back, and I just want to try it. I just want to do it and see what happens. My pharmacist, my best friend from back home is a pharmacist. He's going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff's going to go. He does. I told him, I was like, well, you're just going to wake up one day on a plane.
So they're using ibogaine, which is an extraction of that, to counteract addiction and long-term depression.
Okay.
So they're using ibogaine. There's a clinic in Mexico that does it. They shuttle people across the border. It's not legal in the U.S. But I think maybe Johns Hopkins has gotten licensed to do some of like MDMA and some of the ketamine. I know ketamine's being used for long-term depression now. Who would have known that a horse tranquilizer could do something like that? But you know, there are a lot of these things that are fairly natural, not that ketamine is, but fairly natural, that they are discovering, hey, these things can actually work to knock people out of these states that they get in, and they've been doing it for a really long time.
What country was it? Portugal that does the? Remember me and you talked about this, where they have you can basically go get shot up with meth.
I don't remember. I remember you mentioning that,
There's
but
like
I don't.
Labs clinics, I guess you call them, in Europe, where you can go, and I use meth very loosely. It could be heroin. I don't know. It could be anything. I don't know why I said meth. I guess you smoke that, so heroin. But you go there and you get like small doses, and it's like medically okay, and that's so far from. I mean, think about telling. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Think about telling somebody in Lawrence, Kansas, like, I think I'm going to go to the doctor and get shot up.
I don't know, man. I think I'm going to have to fact check you on that.
It's true. It's true.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I do know.
Look
about
these
ibogaine.
Things up. These are true statements.
I know about ibogaine. I know about ayahuasca. I know about ketamine, and MDMA,
Yeah.
and some of these other things that they're using. They're using psilocybin mushrooms.
How do you feel about that? About Denver decriminalizing it a little bit? Did you see that?
I did see that.
Yeah. How do you feel about it?
Don't know how they're going to make that work. You just kind of hope that people don't drive with that.
Well, the law, I was telling him, like, okay, yeah, they passed it and they made like a big thing. The law is like, did you read it?
Yeah, basically, you can have. What's the best way to, like, I guess,
They'll look the other way?
They'll look the other way.
Yeah,
it's illegal, but yeah.
Because it's still federally class 1.
Yeah.
What's a class 1 substance? But yeah, they said they'll look the other way as far as like, so basically you can't sell it and you can't, like, I guess, yeah. I mean, if you're driving with it and you have shrooms, you're going to jail.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah, that is a scary thought.
Yeah,
but I am all for. There's an article I was reading today that was just basically talking about. He was like, I'm a huge, advocate, for doing these things, but we're not there yet. We're not ready to legalize yet, and I kind of agree with that because
actually what you mean to say is legalize again.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Because that's true. Yeah. But the reason why, our society is not ready.
Marijuana nor psilocybin were illegal for a long time.
Now, I'm a huge marijuana advocate.
And you know what class 1 means?
As
that there is no medically useful application for that substance.
But that's not true.
That isn't true.
Yeah, that's not true. Well, the one thing that does scare me is that kids are now starting to take the vape pens and put DMT in them. That's scary to me.
It is scary.
That's scary.
People with growing brains don't need any substances like that. And that's something that we haven't gotten a grip on really as a society.
No. I don't believe so. I think it's just weird because, where I'm from, opiates are really just taking over everything. It's just destroying the county where I'm from. And I think there's been a few kids from my hometown that have, passed away from it. And I mean, it's a big problem in Kansas, but not like it is across the nation. I just think that they're introducing it to your kids, not like giving it to your kids, but having those talks with your kids about it. Because I couldn't imagine just like being a 16-year-old and be like, I think we should switch this vape to DMT and trip a little bit. Like to me, that just seems so crazy. Like at 16, I was worried about not getting caught with my $8 Bowman's vodka that I bought, And so it seems really dangerous to me.
It's a different world.
It is a different world. It is. I think that marijuana should be, I'm a huge marijuana legalization person, but I also, Jeff knows this, I don't like smoking marijuana.
Yeah.
I like doing edibles and doing yoga, and that's it.
I'm in favor of legalizing.
Yeah.
I don't do it, and
I don't
would
either.
never smoke it, just because anytime you smoke something, you're putting a foreign substance
Right.
in your lungs, and that's not good for you.
Yeah, I don't smoke weed at all. Dude, just don't care for it. He doesn't either. I just don't care for it. I don't like to smoke things.
I can't just because I cannot be productive at all. Like we've talked about this before, Tom. There's some people who can, I'm gonna sit there in front of my Xbox and that's all I'm gonna do.
Yeah, I would watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah, well,
A friend of mine though, 3 whiskeys and they're in the same thing.
Well, that's also us as well. So yeah, we also have to be careful of that as well. That's us too. Yeah.
Yeah, I steer away. As much as I love my bourbon and scotch, I steer away from that too. So
we try to stick with.
I'm trying to drop all my vices.
Yeah.
Not being very successful, but trying nonetheless.
But I think it's a dangerous thing because one, it just kind of popped up on the scene like, hey, we're going to decriminalize this, and now you have kids in far reaches of the United States who are seeing this because social media is such a vast thing, and now they're going to go out and try to find shrooms.
It wasn't expected to pass though.
Wait, it wasn't, and I will say that I was not expecting it to pass.
I'm surprised, but
I'm not. It's Denver.
And yet, Florida, if you have CBD oil with no THC, they charged this lady going into Disney World with a felony for possessing hashish.
Yeah.
Made her post bond and everything else. She's taking it because of her arthritis. So it's wildly different all over the country, and that's something that's going to have to be aligned.
That is crazy.
Along these same lines, though, I do want to mention that we started today with our wellness anti-aging lecture series.
Okay.
And today was on essential oils.
Okay.
Dr. Melissa came in and spoke about essential oils for sports injuries. You should have been there. You probably could have used that. Maybe I can give you the cliff notes.
You can.
Or I'll let you watch the video.
There you go.
At any rate, it's our intention to make this a monthly thing. We want to bring all sorts of experts in.
Yeah,
we want to build the wellness community here in Lawrence. We think there are a bunch of people. I mean, there are tons of boomers here that are starting to think about, that anti-aging thing, just like you are.
Yeah.
He's good. He's taking diabetes medication. He's going to be. I don't want to get started on the anti-aging because I am a psychopath when it comes to the anti-aging stuff. I love it. I want to live till 300. So
I have no desire. I don't know why you would think that's a good idea.
So
I'm thinking
my thing is that I'm okay with the lifespan thing, but more importantly to me is the wellness span.
That's my big thing too.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing that these modalities play into is increasing that amount of time that you are well during your life, not just bedridden or whatever. There's a guy that I listen to a lot, Peter Attia, MD, who says he's doing all these things in training for the decathlon, the centenarian decathlon.
Okay.
So he wants to be able to pick up a 35-pound kid. He wants to be able to walk with his kids, his grandkids, great-grandkids, those kinds of things. He was looking at 100 and working back and said, I'm doing these things, so that I can participate in the centenarian decathlon.
That's awesome. I could do 100 easily. My thing is that I would, you're right, the quality of life is my big thing. And we talk about that with mental health too, because, I would not want to be 80 and miserable, and I don't want to be bedridden, and I don't want to, I don't want to have someone else making my decisions for me. I don't want to be out of my mind. I think that just sounds miserable.
Yeah, which is why I don't want to live to be 300.
Well, we don't know that that's possible, but we know that you can extend your health span so that you can be, functional up until the day that you pass.
Yeah. And that's what I would want. I would want to go out that way.
There's a little bit of genetics involved about how long, things last.
Right.
So all we can do is all we can do. You can, at that point, your genes kind of take over a little bit, and no matter how well you've made them express, you just might not get
there are at this point there are still limitations.
There are still limitations.
That's what they want you to think.
Well, go for it, dude.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to. I'm going to launch for it. I took a GAT survey a few years ago when I was like 26 in the military, and it told me I had the body of a 42-year-old, so I'm probably not going to make it that long. I'm probably not. I'm trying, though. I'm coming back to a very optimal lifestyle. I really am.
Coming back to your real age?
I am. I look and feel better than most 30-year-olds, so I'm okay with that.
Good job.
Yeah, thank you. See, I try. My big thing that I worry about health-wise going forward is the obesity rate in America. I have like that. I think eventually that's what's going to end up being the number one killer overall. When you talk about history, I think we're going to look back and see that the real big marketing booms that were pushing a lot of these sugar-fed products and a lot of these things are really what's going to be ended up. That's going to be the killer of everything.
It is extremely important.
Yeah.
It is extremely expensive for the healthcare system to treat these people once they get on that cycle. It is really difficult to get off of that once you're on that obesity cycle, and the damage that is ongoing from the high A1Cs, the high blood sugars, cause so many other problems that it is a really big deal. And so that is exactly true, that it is probably the number one problem, because it causes a bunch of the cardiac incidents. It causes diabetes. It's got a whole host of issues.
Oh, tell me about it.
Just a long list. And it's in fact they're even calling some of the dementias type 3 diabetes, because they think there's a blood sugar component with that.
I believe that, especially because you're at the age now where that's like when Coca-Cola was first introduced. Just drinking nothing but straight sugars. That's when it really started, was that real big boom at that point. No, I mean,
modified sugars are, some of them are even worse with how they're handled in the liver.
oh yeah.
So
Well, and that's the big new thing in the market is that I mean I have some, but I started using MCT oil in my coffees. But one of my favorite creamers is this Italian cream from what company do I use?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Whatever. But it says 0 sugar, no sugar. But then if you go to the ingredients, there's 2 artificial sugars in there.
Yeah.
And they're not from stevia leaves. They're like 2 chemistry based, like, made up artificial
and it's
sugars.
likely to have maltodextrin, which is
Yes.
another stealthy sugar.
Exactly. And so they throw these things in there, but then they slap on the label no sugar, or 0 calories, no sugar. And then people are drinking this and they're like, well,
Yeah,
I'm healthier than the yeah. But in all
that ain't
reality,
how it really works.
right? Well, in all reality, you're probably doubling your sugar intake of fake sugar. Yeah, it's absolutely
But not
insane.
one.
But 2. Yeah,
That's
exactly. And it's
And I saw a package the other day. It had 5 different forms of sugar in it.
yeah,
So it could be 5 different lists on the ingredient.
that's
Just crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, I don't think that you'll ever get away from that unless you grow your own food.
And I don't know if I mentioned, but I'm a type 1 diabetic.
Oh,
and
no.
I mean, it is absolutely nuts, when you learn to handle the disease like you should. I mean, how difficult it is to even eat right in our society. I mean, like, it's absolutely, it's damn near impossible some days.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jeff just started intermittent fasting.
Oh, cool. I do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Day 4, day 5?
something like I think I started. About a week.
Almost a week.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Good. I mean,
I do TRF and IF,
What is TRF?
time restricted feeding.
Okay, we're okay with that.
So-
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
18 off, 6 on.
okay, yeah. Right now I'm set up on basically 2/3. So 16 hours?
Your food windows,
Yeah,
noon date.
16 hours fasting, 8 hours, 8-hour eating window basically. So
And he's doing kind of like I call it anabolic fasting. So because he goes and sees an actual endocrinologist.
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the things we were talking about is for me I generally put out pretty good A1Cs, but the one thing I'm still struggling with like insulin resistance, that sort of thing, and like I said, as far as living goes, I do a pretty good job for a type 1 diabetic. I could clean my diet up some, and I'd probably need to, do a little more cooking at home. But I mean, generally speaking, I would say I'm probably doing better than probably 90% of diabetics out there as far as, just care day in and day out. And it's tough. It really is.
It's a difficult challenge.
Yeah.
Type 1 is a very difficult challenge. Type 2 is a totally different challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But, when you start with nothing and there's nothing in the tank there and you're never going to get any, that is a whole different problem. And yeah, absolutely. Just like we refer people back to their medical professionals,
Right.
That you shouldn't be doing anything like that without
Absolutely
a
not.
medical professional.
Like I said, that's the one thing, when Tom, first mentioned it, as like, I was like, I'm scared. I'd be scared to death to get in there. Like, I mean, literally, because you think, like I said, I despite, taking care of yourself, I still have neuropathy in my feet, I don't really suffer from real poor circulation, I don't think. But I mean, like, the idea of like getting, it's crazy. Like, I go outside in the winter and I'll come in to the house and I'll take off my shoes and my socks and I'll be like, my feet feel like a block of ice, and I don't even know.
Yeah,
I don't even know what's going on.
We have a type 1 diabetic that does whole body.
Yeah,
he got cleared.
no, and I'm gonna ask my doc about it, because I'm very fascinated.
So yeah, that's the biggest thing too, is the fascination behind it. There's a certain sense of excitement.
Well, I just got to see if I'm going to be one of those dudes that has to bail out after 45 seconds.
I would not let you. I wouldn't. I'd stand there right in front of the door.
Yeah.
No,
I'm gonna come when
it does
you're
get
in
cold,
class.
but it doesn't.
Yes. Well, I used to characterize myself as a whiny bee in the cold. I grew up in Houston.
You can say bitch. It's okay.
Okay, whiny bitch. And there are pictures of me in Houston outside in the snow crying because it was cold and I hated it. So that has been my legacy. And what I've found is from doing whole body cryotherapy, my cold tolerance has absolutely skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother me. You know, I used to just absolutely despise doing the hot cold contrast showers, which is something that I do pretty religiously before I go to sleep.
Do you?
Because
Okay.
it starts that cool down process, so you sleep better. So I used to just despise doing that, and now, you know, it's like it's a little annoying, but I can do it.
How long do you stay under the cold?
At least 20 seconds.
Okay. I'm trying to work up to 3 minutes. I don't know if that.
I just like
it's cold.
It is cold. Yeah, cold is one of those really difficult things for a lot of people.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it is,
I know.
yeah.
I know. I don't like getting in a cold shower, but like I do that after we sauna almost every day. I go shower and I just barely turn it on, cold water, and just step right under there and cool off. And
Well, it's a lot easier after you've been hot.
yeah. It absolutely is.
Yeah, it is. I like the hot to cold. I just think there's something to it. I don't know. I'm a real big I'm a real big fan of using modern technology to use the knowledge that we already have. There's no reason to keep reinventing the wheel. And the thing is that in today's society, and you know, one thing we were talking about earlier that you said, you know, like, oh, you know, the science backs it. You know, to people like us, when we hear that, you know, being in the scientific field, we're like, okay, that makes sense. But for some reason, that's lost credibility in the modern world. I feel like, I mean, it's kind of crazy when you tell someone like, oh, well, science says this, or it's science backed, research data backed, and then someone says, well, yeah, but I read this article on Facebook, and you're like, oh, you know, it's so weird to me that's a conversation that we have to have in today's world.
And there's been bad information out there. The guy that came up with the original rest ice compression elevation,
Right.
He's no longer in the ice thing. He says that's just mostly pain relief.
Okay.
You might get a little bit of compression from being under the water if you're actually under the water, under the ice water. But he said that other than like tolerance and some other things, the ice doesn't really help you for injuries, and in fact can slow it down because it actually doesn't particularly help the circulation.
Okay.
And so that's why you recover so much faster from
the cryotherapy.
The whole body cryotherapy. But there are tons of people that are like, oh, why should I pay to do this when I can just go get an ice bath for free?
Right.
And it's like, well, dude.
But those are also two total different temperatures too, though, right?
They are two totally different temperatures.
What's an ice bath? 40 degrees?
40, yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. That's not even the same thing.
But there's a reason why LeBron James owns one of these things.
Yeah, I would own one of these if I could.
Yeah.
When
Tony
you
Robbins
just go
owns one.
buy one, Tom.
I will one day.
Perfect.
One day. I'm trying to.
I can hook you up.
Yeah. When you decide to retire, let it go. Just give me one. You know, for a great price.
There you go.
Well, Bill, wrapping up. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk, and it was a great conversation with you guys.
No, we appreciate it.
Yeah,
we
thank
really.
you.
It was one of the. You know, I listed. Jeff and I talked about it, and we put like a few businesses together that like, hey, these are the people that we want to hit. And as soon as I came in here the first day, completely blown away with the facility, because you never know. You really don't. You meet people and you're like, yeah, we'll see. And then you go in, was completely blown away. And I went back and told Jeff, I was like, I'm going to contact this guy. I was like, we got to get him on the podcast. Like, we got to talk to him. And so I really much appreciate it.
If I hadn't already shut the machine down, we could have just extended this and pumped you into the machine.
Got to talk to the doctor first.
I don't know that I want any of our viewers to hear me cry. We could have
just just put the microphone right up. So how you feeling?
Yeah, no, I'm like I said, I'm planning. I'm gonna next time I go into my doc, I'm gonna talk to him and get the go ahead. No, I'm giving it a shot.
Well, you have great veins. I feel like you have great circulation.
Yeah,
so like
I said, I think like I said, I generally do, but it's one of those things. Always ask.
No, yeah.
We would require it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that says a lot about the way you guys do business too.
I love you, but.
Yeah, no, I mean,
you don't have your doctors okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Have a great evening.
Good night.
Everybody, good night.